All right, welcome back to NWO News. Again, it is Tuesday, May 25th. And right now, we have somebody very, very special, a very special guest. I want to show some respect to Mr. Isaac Wright Jr., who's here. So thank you for coming on here.
Thank you. That was pretty amazing.
we could be talking to our next mayor, man.
Indeed.
All right, so my audience is familiar with you. We are all familiar with the ABC series For Life, one that's loosely based on your life. We know the difference between what's fictional and what's fact. So just briefly, do you want to let the viewers that's watching W News tell your story?
The story For Life, when they put that together, I sat with first the writer, Hank Steinberg, for a very long time. And I actually went out to California, and kind of stayed at his house for a couple of days. And, we went through my story, and that's where the idea of the show was developed. It was actually developed in California. And the reason why, we're on ABC, and so it's a family-oriented show. And the things that Aaron went through, my true story is much darker than that. There's this in the show, you have Aaron getting his law degree in prison. And what that does is, it's very important for me to highlight, because what that does is when Aaron is doing all these wonderful things for people in prison, a lawyer is doing that. A seasoned, educated attorney with a law degree is doing those things. But, the 20 people that I got out while I was in there, my ability to get myself out, the fact that I represented myself at trial and on appeal, and, made new law and all that. The truth of it is that I did that with a high school diploma. Yeah. And, when you look at what Aaron did, which in the show, it's amazing, but he was an attorney with a law degree. And so when you backdrop that and compare to the true story, I was a 20-something-year-old kid with a high school diploma, with the entire system against me and surrounded by corruption, the police, the prosecutor, the judge, and so the true story of what happened to me is much more darker than what happened to Aaron. But I got my law degree actually on the street. And when you look at what the reality is, Aaron came out of prison a lawyer. I came out of prison, a man with a high school diploma. And what I had to do is I had to spend the next 7 years pursuing a law degree. So I'm out trying to get my life back together. I have a daughter that needed me. And while I was putting her through school, I was putting myself through school. And sick at the same time. And when I say sick, I use that term generally because everybody experienced reentry in different ways, depending on, the type of environment that you were in. I was in a maximum security prison. So when I returned, I was off for almost 2 years. My life was I couldn't get my bearings. And so I was going to school trying to get my bearings at the same time, got my law degree on the street. And then, they showed Aaron having some issues with his law degree, getting in, and, people trying to do some things to him. But the reality is that after I got my law degree, I passed the bar the following year. The Committee on Character investigated me for 9 more years before giving me a license. Okay. So when you compare these things, you got this guy getting a law degree in prison, but when you look at the reality of it, it was 7.5 years in prison, 7 years on the outside pursuing a law degree, and 9 more years, waiting on being investigated to try to get a license. So
to get the piece of paper that says that, yes,
piece of paper. There you go. And look, think about it for a second. When you prevent a man from getting a license for 9 years, you're preventing him from feeding himself. You got to think about what was behind that. So for 9 years, I could not feed myself. I could not practice. So I had to find other ways to survive while I fought to get this law degree.
Well, we got to for Hollywood, we got to cut things down to an hour.
Yeah.
And we got to make the comeback for the next week.
Yeah. There you go.
That is an amazing story. And for one, I heard you talk. I came to one of your speeches, one of your meetings. Mm-hmm. I think that personally, you are the guy for New York City. I think that many people that were around you and that I've met from there, they all believe that. There's a difference between knowing and believing, I believe, and they believe that, and you can't change that. And we can see that. Why do you think you would be the best candidate for New York City?
I mean, there's a number of reasons why, but when you compare me to the other candidates, one of the things that's extremely important is that most of them lived the life of being a part of the system, and all those things that people see wrong in the system, all those things that were promised to them that they never got, they were a part of that. My life is a part of what the everyday New Yorker experiences on a daily basis. Well, the average New Yorker experiences the things that I experience and engage the troubles and the tragedies that I've gone through on a daily basis. And so when you look at when you ask the question as to why I'm a better candidate, the first thing that you have to say to the New Yorkers and to remind them is that, okay, how have your lives changed because these people were a part of government? Mm-hmm. How did it change the quality of your life? Did you feel the changes of the administrations, whether it be the borough president, the controller, the mayor? Have you in your everyday life experienced changes? And the answer is unequivocally no. That's the answer. And so when you look at my background is flooded with change. Mm-hmm. Right now, you type into Google right litigation section, and you will find that the Attorney General in New Jersey has an entire section in the Attorney General's office called the right litigation, because I made changes in the system for the betterment of the people of New Jersey, the entire state of New Jersey. I made changes, and I've been doing that from the time my hands were put behind my backs and cuffed. I've been on a mission and in pursuit of making changes for the betterment of other people. And so that's just one of the reasons. The other reason, obviously, is my experience and some of the things that I've gone through and my understanding of the system. I know how the system works better than them, and they're a part of it. And that's that's a bold statement to make. But think of it this way: I went through the system successfully, so I had to know it better than them.
Yes,
I had to. Because the only way that I was going to be able to beat them was to know it better than they did. I came in knowing nothing, but I went out understanding that system that I was entrapped in better than the people who ran it.
Yes.
Right? And it's the same. It's no different than the mayor's office. Everybody that comes in the mayor's office for the first time is doing on-the-job training. I don't care how long they've been in office. If you've never been mayor before, you're on the job training. That's what you're doing. The difference between me and them is I've proven that I can understand systems better than the people who actually run them. I've proven that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I say about you, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is an endorsement. So yes, NWO, this is our candidate. This is who we're going to be in the streets. So one of the things I can say about you is that your accomplishments, and I don't want to use the term accomplishment because you help people out of hard times. Just going through it and knowing their stories is probably disheartening to you. So it's an accomplishment, but it's like knowing everything that you've been able to accomplish, it can be seen, it can be touched, it can be vouched for from living people.
Right.
Most of the other candidates are saying things that in real life audience, we can't even see.
Right.
Well, we've brought in $60 million and we've made this much, but how did that affect my life or the people's lives around me?
Right.
That is one thing that sets you apart, I believe, with the people. You really are the people's choice and the people's champ. Speaking of the people, what do you think is the most impactful, stressful things for New Yorkers right now?
There's a number of things, but I think the main thing that's stressful for you New Yorkers right now is getting up in the morning. Getting up in the morning and having to again face the reality that New York is in shambles, and their lives are in shambles right along with the city of New York, and not knowing when things are going to change for the better. I think that is the most significant concern and struggles that New Yorkers have, that just getting up, in the morning. And that's because there's leader. There's no hope. There's no hope in the mayor's office. There's a difference between facing problems and knowing that you have someone that's going to protect you and you're going to be all right because your leaders make you feel that way, that you're going to be all right. Yeah, there's problems. We have problems. Cities have problems. States have problems. Countries have problems. But you know what? We have such incredible leaders that we know we're going to be all right. We'll ride this wave and we're going to be all right. The leaders don't make the people of New York feel that way. And I think that's the main concern that New Yorkers have, is that they're insecure about their situation, and there's nobody in leadership that has given them the sense of security to make them feel and know that they're going to ultimately be okay. We're going to ride this wave. We're going to make things better, and we'll get all of these issues that New York is having behind us. They don't have that security, and I think that's their major concern.
And absolutely, because even as a New Yorker myself, I feel that way. At this point, I think politics is all a game. You say what you need to say to get where you need to be. You get there, and you just live your regular life. You don't really discern, and then you come into the picture when we have incidents like we had this past spring and summer, and that's when people want to paint stuff in the street and change street names, but we don't need to do that if we're taking care of these things from the core.
That's right.
Absolutely. And one of the most that I feel unheard voices in New York City are New York City's teachers. I don't necessarily have a question other than, what is your plan for the future of the teachers? Some feel underpaid, they feel undervalued. Is there any plan you have set aside for the teachers of New York City?
Well, there's two things, and I think one of the issues that teachers are having, and it's a part of a policy concern that I have, is the backing and the support of parents, whose children are in those schools. The single most important play, for lack of a better word, that teachers engage is the care of the students. Yes, they teach them, but I've been in New York City schools. I'm sure you've been in New York City schools. We understand to varying degrees what kids go through when they get to school. And a lot of times, the difference is made by the care and concerns of the teachers who educate these students. They go in there, they deal with all the riffraff that these kids bring from home because they're frustrated. If a home is in shambles, when a kid goes to school, he's going to bring havoc to school. They got to be built really special not to have that havoc at home play itself out in school. And teachers are at ground zero for that. And so one of the policy issues that I have is one that will allow parents to be more involved in not only the decision-making process in the Board of Education, but also in the supervision of the children that are in the schools. And so let me give you an example of what I'm saying when I say this. There was a time of old where when you saw a hall monitor, it was one of your friend's mother or father that was in that hall. You know, it was a parent that was in the hall monitoring the school as a volunteer. You know, this was a while ago. And you know what that did was when a parent of a friend of mine was in the hall, that means my mom and dad was in that hall too.
Yes.
You understand? That's what that
Yes.
meant. When I said that wasn't my mom, but that's what that meant. That meant my mother and father was also in that hall, because I knew if she saw or he saw me doing something crazy, you know, or out of way, before I got home, my mother and father was going to know what I was doing. And that is one of the things that it does is it takes the burden off of the teachers. The other things that it does, it makes parents appreciate what these teachers are doing firsthand and be able to advocate for higher pay, you know, for more benefits, because they're in the trenches with them and they're seeing what these teachers are going through every day. And I think that's a policy issue that's very, very important. It's one that I'm definitely going to explore as mayor, and one that I'm going to move aggressively to implement.
That's a very good thing, because you're absolutely right. Even with the thought that, you know, today it's your parent in the hallway, but that could be mine tomorrow.
That's right.
Parents are here. That's the thought of it.
That's right.
Parents are here, and they could be here. And I really look forward to seeing the support you get for that policy, because it's very much needed. Most teachers don't feel the support from the system.
That's right.
So you coming in and backing, I don't think that you're backing up parents. You're backing up the education of the students.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So I think that's amazing. Yeah. So I'm gonna throw some figures at you right now.
Okay.
29,000 jobs have been added since the city's opened back up, or started to open back up. Mm-hmm. However, unemployment is still down by 2%.
Right.
Which 2% sounds small, but when you think of what these numbers are individually, it's a lot of jobs. What is your plan to get New York employment rate back on track?
Okay, so the total 29,000 is a small amount of that 500,000 workers that lost their job in New York City. 500,000 jobs was lost. All right, so that's a speck in the bucket when it comes down to getting those jobs back. And one of the reasons why there's going to be challenges getting jobs back is because New York can't raise any money. New York, you know, when the money goes in New York, it doesn't come back, because if the money goes, that means that the tax bracket goes that they need. They can't even raise taxes because the money's not there for them to raise it. The reason why that's important is because when New York not being able to raise money, and this is something that occurred, they was able to do it before, but it occurred when New York almost went broke in the 70s and 80s. They changed the law and prevented New York from being able to raise money. So New York has to get money from the federal government, the state government, and how it makes up the deficit is through taxes and raising taxes. So now this is an issue where the next mayor has to find a way to jumpstart the economy. Here's my idea. This is my policy issue. So one of the things that a mayor has going for him is that he's going to be mayor, or he is mayor of the richest city in the world, the financial capital of the world. And so when you really look at that, the first thing that you have to ask yourself, how could the mayor of the richest city in the world have to ask anybody for anything? How could he be in so much physical issues in the city? The reason is because they don't have a grasp of the ingredients that they actually have to work with. They don't have the grasp of what's really at their fingertips in New York. And so one of the things that's at a mayor's fingertips in New York is 113 billionaires. Okay. 113 billionaires call New York home. More billionaires call New York home than in any city in the world. And so the first thing a mayor should do, and one of my policy issues is doing, is burning the candles from both ends. On one side of the candle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to those 113 billionaires, and I don't need half. I don't even need a third of them. One of those billionaires can write a check and get New York out of its deficit overnight, but we don't need them to do that. What we want as mayor, I want them to be partners with the city. I want these billionaires to come in and partner with the city as a team. And what we want to do as a team is we want to provide an opportunity in two specific programs, the Young Entrepreneur Program and a Free Enterprise Program. In a Young Entrepreneur Program, we want to take these young kids coming out of high school that may not want to go to college, but have incredible business ideas, and we want to fund them. Right? We're going to give them grants. We're going to fund them. And all these office buildings where the floors are empty, don't worry about that. New York City will rent those spaces, put these young entrepreneurs in those spaces, and mentor them for at least 18 months until they're on their feet. Okay? These are young kids that's going to have the ability to create a legacy at 17, 18, 19 years old. That's one thing. In the Free Enterprise Program, we're going to take the most incredible ideas. And what we're going to say, and what the city's going to say to these billionaires, listen, these ideas, this is the next Microsoft, the next Amazon, this is the next Google. Be partners with them so that you get a return. Let's create the next multi-million. Let's create the next billionaire. But you're going to get a return in doing that. It's a business decision that New York City is going to be partners with you with. And so on that side of the candle, you are dumping hundreds of millions of dollars in New York City's economy. You are creating legacy opportunities for young entrepreneurs and free enterprisers on one end. And on the other end, I'm going to take those $1 billion coming in from the federal government because of COVID relief, and I'm going to designate a certain amount of that money to issues that New York is having with their infrastructure. So let me give you an example of what I'm saying when I say infrastructure. New York's infrastructure has been outdated for decades. It needs to be modernized. If you go to Europe right now and we're talking about 5G. New York is Europe has have, and I said New York, but Europe. You go to Europe. Europe has had 5G for years. You look at their train systems. You look at their Europe's infrastructure, and even some of these other countries, like the Middle East, some places even in Mexico, their infrastructure is in much better shape than the United States, and in New York in particular. So we're going to dump billions of dollars in modernizing New York's infrastructure and their recreational facilities, point being Reese Beach in Far Rockaway. It's deserted.
Yes.
That should be an oasis. There's no reason why we're on an island, a peninsula that's almost surrounded by water. And so one of the things that needs to happen on the other side, and look, this idea is not new because FDR did it. That's how we got out of the Great Depression. FDR created massive public work programs, and people were leaving the South. That's how a lot of people wound up in the North because of these massive public works programs where people were leaving their homes, going and getting jobs and sending back money back down to the family. Some left and never came back, But the issue is creating these public works programs that will modernize New York City's infrastructure, that will create thousands and thousands of jobs. And so on one end of the channel, you have this public works program, this massive public works program that's creating thousands and thousands of jobs. On the other end of the channel, you're creating these legacy programs for young entrepreneurs and free enterprisers. And so with the candle burning itself on both ends, there's absolutely no reason within 18, 24 months, New York should be bustling again, or at least at the cusp of being where it was before COVID.
Absolutely. And as you explain that policy, I'm picturing how things are for sports agencies for the young talent coming out of college, how they mentor them and how they bring them in, and more now than ever, there's more wealthy basketball players and football players than we had prior because of those agencies in between college and the NBA, or in between college and the NFL, and it works for them.
Yes.
And you are putting this on a broad platform, and it definitely can work for the city. It works. We know it works. The strategy works.
Yes.
Yes. But for you to bring it in, I think is very innovative, and I think is much needed. It's a dire needs, especially to help with what's going on. So I know that I'm not gonna hold you, but just a few more things.
Okay.
Your opponent, respectfully, Andrew Yang, he has a plan called Universal Basic Income for New Yorkers. What is your thoughts on that? Whether positive or however?
Well, I don't believe I don't believe there's anything good that can come out of universal basic income. I think from a tax incentive, it's useless, and I think from a human rights incentive, it's useless. It's not a program that's designed to create wealth or to create opportunity. It's just not designed to do any of those things. And what New Yorkers need is they need opportunities for wealth. Mm-hmm. They need somebody to come in and say, I'm not going to give you money. I'm going to teach you how to fish. So that they can take that platform, and build the life. But to just give, and this is, in some ways it's insulting. If you think about what he's really saying, is he's thinking about, listen, vote for me, I'm going to give you something in return. Okay, are you going to give me a better life? Because the money that you're talking about giving me is not going to change my life.
Yes.
Are you going to give me a better life? If you're not telling me you're going to give me a better life, then don't appease me for 4 years while you're in office.
That's true.
Because I can guarantee you the next mayor that's coming in is not going to do that.
Absolutely. And when I get my first check, I'm going to the liquor store. So
he's
not going to help none of us.
What else to do with it? What else you going to do with it? What are you going to like invest it in a new business?
It's like money. What, it's going to be like $600? I am.
Yeah, like what?
I'm gonna be downtown Brooklyn every month. Thank you, Mr. Yang. Yeah. Well, it's definitely, and I look at it as, it's just like a brass ring, an imaginary brass ring. Like it's like that, well, for me, it's like a lollipop. Yeah. It's like how the bank gives you a lollipop when you deposit money. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
That's all it is.
And let me say something to you, right? The average kid growing up in New York is growing up in an environment where he or she thinks every day, what can he do to help his or her family? Mm. New Yorkers don't grow up in families and everybody's got silver spoons in their mouth. New Yorkers, it's a struggle to live in New York.
Yes.
And the children of these parents trying to struggle and trying to make ends meet, they want to be a part of their parents' success. They dream about, being in a position. Mom, Dad, you don't have to work anymore. Mom, Dad, here's how I'm going to help you, through your struggles. Here's how I'm going to make life better for all of us. And so if you ask a kid that thinks like that, whether he wants $600 a month or whether he wants an opportunity to create a legacy for his family, just the opportunity, not the promise that it's going to happen, but the opportunity to create a legacy for his family, to feed his family, what do you think that kid is going to say? He's going to say, I've since I was 12, I wanted my own business.
Yes.
That's what he's going to say.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't, you're absolutely right about that. And the thing that I love about this new generation, I know there's they catch a lot of flack for the music and the dressing.
Yes.
But this generation, more than mine, more than yours, more than the ones that was before you, is that they are not impressed by shiny things.
That's right.
They don't care. They've canceled people that we grew up on and we loved, and you mess with them and you're out the door and they will call you out on it. So I think, there's a base there for those shiny things, but that all is going to be revealed or exposed later on, because this generation are not playing. They want change.
That's right.
They want change. I think, the generation before me, they were just happy that they were able to do things.
That's right.
My generation came in and, we individually progressed. We started dressing different and not dressing different because we was already wearing suits back in the day. Didn't stop.
That's
so,
right.
So we dressed, we dressed new, we dressed well, we was getting better jobs. This generation came in and said, I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to accept the standard.
That's right.
And I think that's going to definitely be exposed. I'm going to play a little quick game with you, then I'm going to let you go. Favorite New York City team?
Favorite New York City team? I'm gonna show some love to the Nets, man.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna show them some love, man. It's they get a lot of flack, man. So I'm gonna show them some love, man. That's what I'm Nets, man.
All right. Favorite New York City food?
Favorite New York City food? Nathan's hot dog.
Yeah. First of all, let me just applaud you on that, because that means you've been to Coney Island. So let me applaud you. Nathan's.
Yes.
Favorite New York City based movie or television show, and you can't pick for life.
Nah, I won't pick for life. I'm gonna go back on that one and say The Godfather.
Okay. All right.
The Godfather. That's what I would put King of New York second, but The Godfather, as far as movies, favorite New York City based movie, Godfather.
All right. So television show.
Favorite New York City based television show, I'd have to say, oh man, that's hard. I gotta go comedy. And I'm gonna be corny with this one, but I'm gonna say I would have said the Winans, but they're not out of New York, they're out of Chicago.
Okay.
So I gotta say Seinfeld.
All right. All right. So you're on the line. I thought you were gonna go with Friends and Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, that's just over here.
Yeah, Seinfeld for New York.
Favorite New York City musician. Please
favorite New York City favorite New York City musician. You know, let me say it like this. I gotta bifurcate that, right? I gotta give it the fifth. I gotta give it the fifth. I mean, I cannot sit here in good conscience and not say that he didn't climb that ladder over who my favorite would have been. You know, and people are back and forth about where he's really from, but the dude's from New York, man. Pac. My favorite would have been Pac, but I got to give that the fifth climbed over his back. He's you know, and rightfully so. Yes. Rightfully so. So I got to give that the fifth.
All right, last one. Favorite New York City weather? Because you got 4 to choose from.
Yeah, I got 4 to. I hate the freaking summer because it's hot. I love it when it's cold because I hate the cold. But when it comes, I'd have to say fall, man. I'd have to say the best time to be in New York City is in the fall.
Yes, because you get to wear those Timbs, right?
Yeah, there you go.
First of all, let me applaud that. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac Wright Jr.
Very welcome.
Thank you so much for your time. You will have my endorsement here. I have to say that when I first learned of you, because Galaxy, Galaxy,
yeah,
Princess,
yeah,
or whatever name she chose to use.
Yeah.
She got like 3 of them. And awesome. I would love Coach on the show. Awesome. They introduced me to you. And at first seeing you, I said, who is this guy running for mayor? I was not with it. I was with Wiley all the way.
Yeah.
And then I met you and I listened to certain people speak, other people speak, and I've met you. You were the most authentic you are a New Yorker. What you don't do is, and it's crazy because I would suggest you do it, but you don't do it. You don't sell your story. You're not on this campaign trail talking about you did this and you was here. You did. If people ask, you'll bring it up because that's what we know you for.
Right.
But you have your policies down packed, and you know what you want to do to New York City, and you give it thought. You gave this thought, and you know exactly what you want to do. Yeah. That's why you got our endorsement here. And you forever and ever, even if you don't take it this year, you still gonna be up again. Indeed. In another 4 years, and you definitely are a New York City mayor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man, for having. Thank you for coming, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Isaac Wright Jr. You can follow him on Instagram at Isaac Wright Jr. He's verified, obviously, and you could check out For Life. Right now is on Hulu. They're working on a new season, I believe.
Yeah.
So you could check it out on Hulu. It's For Life. It's a show loosely based on his life. Is executive produced by 50 Cent. Thank you, Mr. Isaac Wright Jr.
Thank you. Thank you. You take care.
You too, man.
All right.